Buddy JayC here, and welcome to another Thursday night live stream. And today's topic of discussion is the new Marvel Legend reveals made earlier today during the Hasbro fan stream. And of course, we'll talk about whatever else is on your guys' mind. But first, let's just do a quick roll call, see who's in the house. I see Everett is here with a lot of comments here. I think it's been a while since I've seen you, Everett, but hope all is well with you. He says he's getting the Sky Cycle, Hawkeye with Sky Cycle in the mail today. So I got that not too long ago, and I actually bought it off Amazon when it went on sale. And it's actually a pretty nice set. You can actually, I don't know if you can see it back there, but it's on my video game there. I put Captain America on the Sky Cycle, and Hawkeye is down there having to stand, but it goes nicely with the Avengers video game that's on the machine behind me there. So, but let's see who else is in the house. Zim is in the house. What's up? Lord Venger is here. Good to see you. 3M is in the house. Ruben Flores, Toymaster 54, good to see you. So new Hasbro Marvel Legend reveals today, and I actually thought well, first of all, we saw a little bit more than I was expecting, but overall I was pretty happy with what they showed today. In fact, I will probably get at least half of the things that they showed today. Blake's in the house. What's up, Blake? T-Glue's in the house. See people still coming in. Coco. Miles Morales will never be Spider-Man. I know someone else that shares that sentiment. Chris Allen, hey, what's up? See, to me, Miles Morales is not who I primarily think of Spider-Man, but he is a Spider-Man. But, of course, Peter Parker will always be my go-to Spider-Man. Chris Allen says he likes the reveals. I wouldn't say a lot, but definitely more than I was expecting. I mean, part of it was because yesterday, via Marvel.com, we got to see all those X-Men 97 figures. So if you count those two as reveals, then we definitely got a lot of reveals. Mostly, 90% all X-Men related, other than the two store exclusive Captain America figures, and then those two MCU reissue figures, which I think most of us will pass on, just because I'm sure we have those figures. 3M says he wants Goblin Queen. So are you happy with this version of Goblin Queen that we're getting, or are you one of those who are like, give us the one that was going to be in the Haslab? So let's run up back to yesterday's reveals. So, I mean, I'll be the first to say that I like the one that came in the Haslab. Let me get to her first. Yeah, so I mean, it's not that this is a bad looking figure. I do like the look of the one that they showed for the Haslab. Now, I will say that if this is how she's going to appear in the new cartoon, then I completely understand why Hasbro gave us this version. And in fact, if assuming the cartoon's good, this might become the go-to look for her. I'm trying to get back to the Haslab one. So here we have the old Ghost Charger, Mephisto. But so I definitely like this. I mean, to me, this is more fitting for Goblin Queen. but of course, more risque. So I understand why this probably is not how she'll look in the cartoon, and why this is why this was going to be offered in a Haslab and not a general release. But I don't hate the new one, so I probably will get that one. I don't know. Coco says now that the Ditko stuff is settled, we'll probably see Miles as Spider-Man. Was rearranging the man cave and finished. Nice, nice to see it, Mr. Sanders. Blake says those angel wings finally surpassed my Toy Biz X-Men. Yeah, that was probably the best reveal of the day. Was the angel figure. So, assuming the final product looks like this will definitely be. I definitely will be adding this one to my collection. Now they didn't really tell us how this was going to be released, so I don't know if this will be a single release, a 2-pack release. I'd heard rumors of a 2-pack release, but as far as those Wolverine 2-packs, they said they were only doing 4, and they showed us all 4. So, but yeah, that figure to me, those wings look gorgeous, and it's nice to finally get an updated classic version. And I'm sure Hasbro will do at some point a blue one. I mean, it's just too easy of a repaint not to do a blue one. So I'm sure we will see that somewhere down the road. Angel in his blue outfit as well. But that Angel figure I think was by far the best looking of the figures that they showed today. Now the Sabretooth with the 2-pack, finally a Jim Lee style Sabretooth that's on a correct size buck. So that one's popular. We get the Cowboy Logan with that. Let's go look at that one. So that one looks pretty good. I don't even mind the Cowboy Logan. There's the Leandro with the Brood Wolverine. I probably will not get that one. This one too. I mean, this one's not bad, but I don't need this Wolverine, and this is not my favorite version of Psylocke. I would have much preferred a more classic looking Psylocke, before the ninja look. This one I'll get, the Hulk and the Patch figure in their tuxedos. Though I wonder, in the cover, Hulk's got his arms crossed. I have a feeling you're not going to be able to really cross the arms on this figure, but the Wolverine, the Sabretooth, let me get to a better picture of Sabretooth. Gotta go through all these. So yeah, nice size on that Sabretooth. And I don't even mind this Cowboy Logan. That's an actual Logan figure I wouldn't mind adding. So, but I think that figure definitely is one of the nicer reveals for today. Power Turtle Buster. So, the Sabretooth Wolverine 2-pack along with the Leandra one go up for pre-order tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. These will be fan channel exclusives. Amazon should be offering them as well. So, but places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, and again, they go up for pre-order tomorrow. I don't know when their release date will be. I'm guessing probably, you know, February, March of next year is when we'll start seeing them release. But But pre-orders are tomorrow for these. Jerry's claiming the angel figure is part of a sentinel wave, so we'll have to see if you're right. Jerry's spouting some rumored listings for us. Rashid says he said he's going to slow down, but yeah, I like those caps. So the Captain America figures, those were kind of nice surprises. So finally, Sam Wilson cap with some wings, but I also like the fact they're giving him his new shield. So I definitely will get this. This is going to be a Target store exclusive. We don't know when it's going to go up for pre-order, sometime next year, but coming to Target. And then well, I never liked this story, the Hail Hydra story with this Captain America. I've always liked this outfit for Cap. So, they did a Marvel Universe version of this Cap a long time ago, but I'm glad we're finally getting a 6-inch Marvel Legend figure. So this one I will be picking up as well, and this one's going to be a Walmart exclusive. So probably will go up during the next Walmart Collector Con, I'm guessing. Yeah, man, they never said what Buck Sabretooth's on. Is it? I don't think it's 100% new. I think it's using parts from various figures. I mean, I think there's some new parts on there. I want to say they said, but I don't think it's just like one set Buck. I could be wrong on that, but Coco said I like. I mean, if you read the recent stories, it's not like he's replaced Captain America. He's just a Captain America. So I've never hated the outfit, and I like the shield. So I'm actually into the figure. So let's see what else. So what about yeah, these are the two going up for pre-order tomorrow. The Leandro doesn't look bad. I don't know if I really need it, and I don't really care about Wolverine as a Brood. I remember the cover that they based it on. I have that issue, but it's just not like a favorite. But I will get this one. Now, something I just want to note for you guys, because I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm just going to wait for them to go on clearance at Ross or Ollie's," and I mean that's certainly your prerogative. But one thing you need to keep in mind about figures for next year is Hasbro is going to be producing figures in smaller numbers so that they don't have this huge left unsold inventory at the end of the year that goes to the discounter. So I'm not saying everything will sell out. I'm not saying, that we might not see some things go on discount at the end of next year. But I'm saying it's not going to be like this year. This year, Hasbro way overproduced stuff because they were still producing in the numbers during that they were based on the sales they were getting during the pandemic. So Hasbro is self-correcting that and is again going to be producing everything they put out next year in smaller numbers. So, I don't know if things will sell out per se, but again, I wouldn't just count on that everything's going to end up at discount towards the end of the year. It wasn't that sales were bad for the action figure collectibles. They were actually pretty good overall. It's just a combination of Hasbro way overproducing and then also just bad distribution as well. But it's why you saw the stuff go to the discounters this year. But again, just as a word of caution, if you see something you like this year, you might want to go on and get it when it comes out, not wait and hope it goes on discount. Omega Maximus, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. Yeah, if Leandra was in a single release, I'd be more inclined to get her. But with the 2-pack, she's just not a favorite enough character. And I kind of, when they gave us the head sculpt in that Walgreens exclusive figure, the other year, you can kind of make your own makeshift one if you really want to. So it's just not one I really feel the need to get. So even though it might not go to clearance, if it some by chance goes to clearance at the end of next year, then maybe I'll pick it up. But I doubt I'm going to pay full price. And if I miss out on it, I won't be upset. I think the Sabretooth will be extremely popular. The Sabretooth set. I think the Mr. Fix-It and Patch 2-pack will be extremely popular. The other two, the Leandra and the Psylocke one, I think will probably not be quite as popular. So those, I think will be easier to get. But I have a feeling that like the Sabretooth one and the other one, the Patch one, those will be a little bit, those might be a little bit harder to get. I wouldn't count on those going to, Ross or Ollie's at the end of next year. The MCU and all the woke characters that no one wants figures of is uh, what helped kill Hasbro. Certainly, I think the MCU movies declining in their popularity hasn't helped Marvel Legends. Um, and just the amount of stuff that Hasbro has to produce for all the TV shows and movies and stuff. And then the other thing is that, first it was the pandemic. Now it's going to be things like the writer's strike and stuff where, the figures, it's very, when the movie schedules change, it makes it very hard to line up the release of the movie figures that with the movie that they're based on. So I think like we saw during the pandemic, because of the delays caused by the writer's strike and actor strike and everything, you're going to see where the movie figures and their release are not going to match up very well with the movies that they're based on. So that probably doesn't help either. Jerry, yeah. I mean, this year, all that stuff went on discount. But again, Hasbro was producing stuff in much larger numbers this year. That's why you saw everything go on discount. Everything got backed up, you know, carryover from the pandemic. Things got backed up and, with the distribution and stuff was being produced in the higher numbers. But again, Hasbro is going to be, I don't have exact numbers, but just pulling numbers out of my head just to keep the example simple, instead of producing 100 figures, they're only going to produce 50 figures. So, you know, they produced all those Avenger sets in very large numbers, whereas with these things that you're seeing in 2024, they're not going to be produced in as great a number. So that means there isn't going to be as much left, that much unsold inventory at the end of the year to go on discount. So people are probably going to buy the same amount that they did this year, maybe even less a little, who knows. But Hasbro, to offset, knowing that people aren't buying like they were during the pandemic now, are going to be producing stuff. So that's why I think you're going to see things, remember those days where, things would sell out before you even had a chance to pre-order, or you'd never, we're going to be kind of going back to those days where things are going to become much more scarce. But at the end of the day, you got to buy what you buy. You got to buy what you can afford. You got to buy what you like. If they put out a 2-pack and you only like one figure and it's not worth paying for the second figure to get it, and you're willing to pass on it, then don't buy it. 100%. If it's some, that's what I said with like the Leandra 2-pack. I'm not gonna buy. I'm not gonna buy that at full price. If it goes on discount, then I might pick it up. But if it doesn't go on discount and I don't get it, I'm not going to be upset. So basically my warning is in regards to this is, don't buy anything you don't want, but also just realize that if you decide to wait for something to go on discount and something you really want, it is possible that it might sell out this year, whereas in this past year things pretty much just sat there. Like a good example of this is like the recent MCU Green Goblin figure. That's going to be a figure that's probably going to be pretty difficult to get. You might be able to still find it right now, but pretty soon here, that's a figure that is not going to be easy to get, and it's going to start skyrocketing on secondary market prices. So if you want that figure, and I'm talking about the No Way Home Green Goblin, the recent one, which is a really nice figure, by the way. I got it back there. Hasbro really did a good job on that one. So that one, in my feeling, is that's going to be a very hot commodity that if you want it, get it now. But if you're waiting for it to go on discount, I think you're definitely going to be disappointed. So, and again, even with like today's reveals, I definitely feel like the Sabretooth is going to be a more popular one. I feel like the Fix It 2-pack could be popular. The Angel, well, we don't know if the Angel's a single release. I don't know. The Angel's a hard one. I mean, I definitely think people will buy that one, but if it's a single release in a wave, I mean, I don't know. Some people might be like, well, I have Archangel. I prefer him as Archangel, so I don't really need a regular Angel. So I don't know about that one. I definitely will be buying the Angel figure, but because we've gotten other versions of that character, and I feel like a lot of people prefer the Archangel version of Worthington than the classic one. Pete, yeah, Blob's another. I mean, that was a great figure. Hasbro did a good job on that one, and yeah, I really wouldn't expect to see Blob go on any kind of serious discount. You can still get Blob, I think, at normal market. Like, I don't think you have to go pay high secondary market prices, but I also don't think you're going to see the Blob sell out or go on discount. MM. Well, yeah, I mean, I 100%. I was talking to somebody today, and this year, 2023, I've probably bought far less action figures than I have in any recent previous years. And most of the stuff that I have bought is Hasbro related, but honestly, most of the stuff that I bought this year is GI Joe related. So, um, but I definitely these days have been buying a lot more GI Joe than Marvel Legends. I've been pretty choosy on my Marvel Legends stuff. So Masters of the Universe Masterverse is probably the second line I've been collecting the most this year. GI Joe Classified and Masterverse are the lines I probably spent the most money on this year. Now, of course, that doesn't. Well, GI Joe definitely counts like the Haslabs. I've gotten all the GI Joe Haslabs so far. So Logan X Dan's toys. I bought a Ghost Rider with bike just for the chain. I mean, I've done things like that before as well, or I bought a figure just for like an accessory or whatever. So I think we've all done that. But definitely, as prices go up, it gets harder and harder to do that type of thing. Ivan says, if the wings of the angel was done the same way as the Hawks figure from Yamaguchi, that'd be awesome. The Marvel Select, I mean, I like that. The Hasbro Archangel we got was pretty good as well. So, problem with the Marvel Select one is it's not in scale with any of the Marvel Legends, which is the line I primarily collect when it's Marvel. If it's a figure that can kind of fit in, I'll get it. There are a few exceptions. I got the Marvel Select Taskmaster because I thought that was a really good figure. I can't wait for the Marvel Select Crimson Dynamo figure. That's definitely high up on my list of wants. And I saw some in hand images earlier this week, so that is one. They really knocked it out of the park with their Titanium Man figure, Diamond Select Toys, that is. So I'm really looking forward to that Marvel Select Crimson Dynamo. Horn Viper says, I like SH figures, but they're getting too expensive. I've actually, it has been a long time since I bought a SH figure, but I actually have never been a huge fan of figures. They're more expensive, but I've generally preferred, like, especially when talking Marvel and stuff, like Marvel figures. Now, some of the Mafex stuff has been pretty tempting. Um, I think Mafex has been putting out some pretty good stuff here in recent years, but I'm not really a huge SH figure fan in general. Blake, the Marvel Select Captain America. I don't know. I mean, it for a classic cap, it doesn't look bad. It's just again, I've got it's not my preferred scale, so I don't know if I get that one. The I mean, some of those figures they've put out, some of those Fantastic Four figures look good and stuff, but like I said, for Marvel Select, I generally only get ones that will, are for larger characters that will fit in with your 6 inch Marvel Legends. The Iron Man, like the Silver Centurion Iron Man figure they did, that was another really good one. That one doesn't really fit in with Marvel Legends, but it's such a good figure that I got that one. And the Hasbro one, the Silver Centurion Hasbro Marvel Legend figure was not that great. So I ended up getting that one. But in general, I don't just buy every Marvel Select figure. Ivan, Amazing Yamaguchi. I got some of those early ones, and they're cool, but they're also very, they have a very set artistic style to them, usually. So I don't know. I've got like the Wolverine one. I've got the Captain America one. I think I have the Spider-Man one too. The first Spider-Man one that they did. Yeah, and yep, I will get that one because that's another one that will fit in nicely with this. That's a larger character, so that will fit in pretty good with Marvel Legends. And I agree, that figure looks good. So that is one I will probably pick up. The Silver Centurion, Mezco Silver Centurion. Did I get that? No, I don't think I have that. I have the Mezco Classic Iron Man. And that's a pretty good figure, that classic Mezco Iron Man. But I don't think I got the Silver Centurion one. Well, Hulk's another character that works great with Marvel Select because he's a big giant character, so he fits in with your Marvel Legends. Hell, I mean that Watcher figure back there, that's an old figure, but that still I think is a great figure that works great with Marvel Legend figures. AM says he got Sunman for $5.78 from Target. Yeah, Target. I mean, Target has discounted a lot of those Masterverse. And that Sunman's actually a pretty good figure. I like that Sunman figure. The Masterverse Sunman. Corn Viper. How about the Red Sonya? Feel bad for people who bought the loose collector figure. I don't know if I feel bad, but the Boss Fight Studio, I mean, the loose collector one was decent. And I haven't seen any comparisons, but yeah, Boss Fight Studios Red Sonja looks pretty good too. Hey Rodney, same to you. Hope all is going well with you and your family. No, not Marvel. No, there's not a diamond figure. He's talking about the Boss Fight Studio Epic Hacks figure that just went up for pre-order this week, or maybe it was last week. So I am hoping maybe tomorrow. I was gonna do a his tank review on Tuesday, but then the news with all the Hasbro layoffs and the McFarlane thing, I wanted to put a news video up for that. But I am still going to try and do a review of the his tank, which you can see back there behind me. But and it's great. I love it. Hasbro really knocked it out of the park with that, with the his tank. Um, I still I'm still deciding whether I want to open this or not because I know they're going to do a regular Cobra Commander at some point. This has got the Mickey Mouse symbol, so I'm sure we're going to get the same figure with just the corrected symbol. I hope they also, if or when they do that, I hope they stick the white stripe on his helmet because I like the white stripe there. I think it looks better when they put the white stripe on there. But I may end up opening this one. I haven't decided. But his tank, Haslab his tank gives a definite thumbs up for me. Uh, Hopefully, the Dragonfly will be as nice, and even the Vamp, hopefully will be as nice, and I think it will be because Jester says open it. I probably will. Not that I would. I'm looking to sell it, but I was like looking on eBay and like people are selling this thing for like $200. Like, damn. Any idea on the Legends teas? I don't have any. My best, my more of a hope than guess, or like guess that I think is correct. This is more wishful thinking for me. Is that it's teasing an Excalibur Phoenix with the red outfit with the spikes. Besides the fire accessory, Dwight said something about uh, Overworld or whatever it's called, which is something, it's an actual pocket universe in the Marvel, uh, in the Marvel universe. And I'm not that familiar with. I googled it, so I'm not really familiar with it. But I guess Excalibur, or not Excalibur, but Captain Britain originates from that pocket universe. So I don't know if you could connect the dots to get to Phoenix with that, but my hope is it is a new Excalibur Phoenix, because I'm still like the fact that we still have not gotten a Wolfsbane or X Factor or X Factor Wolfsbane or X Force Feral figure. I mean, those are years overdue. Those teams should be completed by now, and Hasbro's still making us wait on those. And so I'm hoping that at some point this year we do end up seeing those figures. Comic Suitor. That would, I mean, that thing was only this big. I want to say it was like a little, it was like for sticking a foot, the figure's foot into. So no way that would be for a suitor if that's what that was. Angel should have yellow gloves and boots. I don't remember with that outfit having any yellow gloves and boots. Suitor would be, I mean, we would, that would need to be like a bigger figure. Blake says, give it away. Well, funny thing. So, yeah. So let me pose a hypothetical question to you, asking for a friend. If Hasbro in error sent you two his tanks for the price of one, would you keep both his tanks, or would you send the second one back to Hasbro? Asking for a friend. Coco got himself that VC Django Fett. I've already got Django Fett. I don't need another one. I'm not really collecting VC these days anyway, but I mean, it looks like a good figure, but I didn't say that, Blake. I said I was asking for a friend. 3M says keep them both. PM says sell one. Like if I was gonna sell one, I wouldn't sell it right now. I mean, I know people are selling them for like $600, but like I'd hold on to it for a couple years and then see what it was valued at, because that's something, being it's likely not going to be re-released, or at least no time soon. That's something that's only going to go up in price. Rodney says send the second one back. Just say, hey Hasbro, you sent me one in error, I want to send it back to you. Oh, Hasbro just laid off 20% of its workforce. Can they even handle returns? Jeez. Like says, you should give it away to his. I gave one away last year when when the Haslab already happened. I gave one away. In fact, the person who won it got theirs before I got. If I had an extra one, I wouldn't totally rule out giving it away at some point. I haven't decided. That's assuming if I had an extra one. Virtual does do it as a Christmas giveaway. We should probably do. I should probably do something next week for Chris. As we're heading into Christmas, it'll be the last live stream before Christmas. So even if it's not a his tank, maybe we'll do something for Christmas next week. We'll send the Pinkertons to my house. She says, keep and not tell anyone. 3M says, Hasbro not selling their Haslabs as seasonal items is a missed opportunity. I will say, and I've talked, like, when it comes to things like the Haslab, I don't know why they limit how many you can buy or why I do think it's stupid that they don't let e-tailers buy them to resell. And it's not scalping to me because if somebody ordered 20, if somebody ordered 20 of them, it's still not preventing you from getting one as well if you want one because it's a made to order thing. So it's not the same thing as if somebody scalped it and like bought them all up so that you couldn't get one and then had to pay secondary price. But there are people who later on, who missed out on getting it originally or come into the hobby, later on, who might want to add it to their collection. And so even though you're paying more than the original market price, you know, it gives you an opportunity to get it. So in a case like that, I don't think it's a bad thing if people buy extras to resell later on because again, it's not preventing you if you want to buy it at the time that it's being offered, it's not preventing you from getting one at the normal market price. But for some reason they put a limit so you can only get 5. Now I know that people there are workarounds for those limits and stuff, but still I don't know why they even bother to put the limits on them. All right, so someone paid to back or his tank. They usually they usually make a certain number of extras for something like that, or if somebody got a damaged one. So I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but they usually make a certain amount of extra for occasions like that. People don't appreciate winning something for free. The guy who bought Galactus on here, he probably said thanks to me at least. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely. I mean, well, so I literally, my sites have been around for almost 20 years, and I've been doing forum contests on those websites since almost since the sites began on a monthly basis. So I literally give away, like these days I do $100 store, their store credits to Big Bad Toy Store, but $100 worth on each of those forums, the Marvelous News forums and the Toy News International forums. And the only thing you have to do to be entered into the contest is just actively post on those forums, be part of a community and talk about the, something you're passionate about, which is action figure collecting. So it's an easy way to win essentially $100 to buy toys, because especially when you realize that the number of people who actively post on those forums is not a huge amount. So if you go and you post on those forums on a regular basis, and because we do the contest almost on a monthly basis, sooner or later the chances you're going to win are very high. Now, if the contest did what it was supposed to and brought in more and more people to the forums, then your chances would go down. The more people who come to the forums and post, that lowers your chances. But still, you got a pretty good chance of winning. But like a lot of people, it's too much trouble. They don't want to register for the forums, or they don't. If it's not on Facebook or some social media, they don't want to. It's not worth their time to post. So that is something I've often I feel like, do people kind of, I don't know if it's not appreciate. I think a lot of people have this mindset that it's like, I'm not going to win, so it's not worth it. I'm not going to even try because I'm not going to win. So I think that's probably more than taking it for granted. But yeah, I don't think in the early days of Haslabs, the e-tailers were, I think, were able to buy them, but I forget which Haslab was the first one. But I don't think places like Big Bad Toy Store are are allowed to buy them to resell. So I don't think it's. I think if Big Bad Toy Store was allowed to buy them, I think they probably would. At least I don't know how many, because, and I mean, I guess they could buy at least five, I guess, but I think it's kind of frowned upon for e-tailers to the established e-tailers to try and resell the Haslabs. Yeah, well, that's cool. I just, but to me, it's like, and you can post on both forums, so you could possibly win $200 a month in store credit. And there have been times where the same person won on both forums. So it's just, to me, it's an easy way to get free toys. Yeah, great. But that was later. That was like much later, and I think, and I am somewhat speculating because I didn't actually ask them, but I think that's because Hasbro had leftovers, and I think they ended up allowing like Big Bad Toy Store to buy up that inventory to sell. But it wasn't like Hasbro started selling the Sky Striker right away. It was pretty much after Hasbro decided they were done with 3 3/4 inch O-ring stuff. Because that's, if you remember, the Sky Striker was launching Hasbro's new O-ring line of GI Joe figures that was going to be sold exclusively on Hasbro polls. But I don't think the sales were ever there for that line, which is why all those figures ended up being offered at other e-tailers, all those GI Joe O-ring figures, because they didn't sell very well on Hasbro polls, mainly because of the price of them. They were so expensive. And so I think Hasbro basically clearanced them out to other e-tailers, but that was a little bit different situation. But like you're not like they never sold Galactus, I don't think, and things like that. Miriam says, I remember when I got a second chance raffle for a gold PS4 for a Taco Bell contest. It died the year after I got it. I mean, I've done the same. Like, I don't enter like a lot of contests either. So, and again, usually I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna win, so it's not even worth it. But you know, I'm telling you guys that if you post regularly on those TNI and Marvelous News forums regularly, you might not win the first month, but you probably will win. Within a year, you'll probably win at least once. Okay, I could see Hasbro doing another but different version of a Sentinel for Haslab. Well, and there's often, I've seen a lot of debate. Like people say, well, Hasbro should re-release, like say the His tank. Like they should give us a Crimson His tank. Maybe remove some of the accessories and stuff to keep it cheaper, and release it at like retail. And I could possibly conceivably see them doing that. But I think there's also just this idea that if they started reselling Haslabs, then people would be like, "Well, I don't need to back the Haslab, so because I know Hasbro's just going to re-release it down the road." So I think there's some hesitance on Hasbro's part to not want to reissue or re-release anything they do through Haslab, because they don't want to set a precedent of people thinking, "Well, I don't need to back the Haslab. I'll just wait until it gets reissued later on." Lord Vanguard, I just want a 6-inch version of that Sentinel in different colors, like from the arcade. Well, they did that. They did that 6-inch Sentinel for the retro line, which kind of works with Marvel Legends. You can still get that, but it would be. I wouldn't mind seeing them do a Sentinel from the X-Men Capcom games. That'd be kind of cool. Tiku says Robo mentioned that Lenny at GI Joe thought a stripped down repainted Hiss might work. Yeah, like I mean because the Hiss, you could do a Crimson Hiss. I mean with all the different Crimsons stuff that they've been doing, a Crimson or an all red Hiss tank makes perfect sense to me. A blue Hiss tank, those are all colors they've done in the past with the Hiss tank for the 3 3/4 inch line. So I definitely think they could find a way to do it. I just think the big worry there is probably, oh well, if we do that, then people will stop backing the Haslab. But eventually, like when they feel like enough time has passed, I feel like there's the chance gets greater that they might do something like that for some of these Haslabs. Um, you know, but they're probably at least going to wait like 5 years or something till they decide to reissue something like that. Hey Quinn, what's up? Hope you're having a great holiday season. Hope you're getting a lot of people coming into your store for the holidays. I've seen your post on Facebook where where you had like Power Ranger actors, I think it was, in your shop doing signings. So that's pretty cool. I don't think even stripped down, I don't think we would see a his tank as cheap as $100. Maybe under 200, but I doubt. I'd be surprised if we ever saw a his tank for $100. Hey Quint, yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Angel, I think, was by far the best reveal of the day. And had 12 different Power Rangers in his store. I think that's a cool idea for like comic shops and stuff. Like, I mean, you see like conventions do it and stuff. Like I had a local vintage toy store earlier this year. They brought in Sergeant Slaughter for an autograph signing. So, and that seemed to bring in a pretty good crowd of people. So, I don't know how much Sergeant Slaughter charges to come and do autographs, but especially with his tie to like GI Joe and stuff, I feel like that's a good guess to try and get into your store. Or Vinger, what was Super Seven thinking trying to get $500 for that mothership? I don't know. I don't think. I mean, I'll be absolutely honest with you. I'm wondering what they're thinking trying to do O-ring figures. I mean, if they can keep the price of the O-ring figures down, then I think it could work. But like going back to when Hasbro tried to do it, the problem was the price, and I think Super Seven's gonna have the same problem. So, I really wonder why they think they're going to be successful with GI Joe O-rings when Hasbro couldn't do them successfully. But who knows? We were talking about that earlier, John. I don't have like a guess as in this is what I think it really was. My hope is it would be a Excalibur Phoenix figure, but that's just wishful thinking on my part. And I mean, it's certainly possible, but I have no insider information or anything like that. And I mean, it's such a random a fire accessory, so it's so random that it's really kind of hard to narrow it down, per se. You know, Dwight used the word outwardly to describe it, and there is a pocket universe in the Marvel, universe called Outworld, which is where Captain Britain is from. I don't know enough about it to know if there's any fire characters there specifically, but I guess if you wanted to try and loosely connect the dots, you could say, Captain Britain, Excalibur, Phoenix, maybe. It's a stretch, but because that's the figure I want it to be, that's what I'm going with. Well, we do not need another goddamn Jean Phoenix figure. If it's Phoenix, it better be Rachel Summers to finish out our Excalibur team. Coco says Mezco Doom is processing. Nice. Judge. Yeah, Flag. I assume you're talking about like Super 7 with O-ring. Well, I think a Flag would be more expensive than that Cobra mothership. So I don't know. I think the Flag would be more popular than the Cobra mothership as well, but I think the price would kill it. So yeah, I tend to agree with you. Uh, my thoughts on the Goblin Queen reveal for the 90 X-Men. I don't have a problem with it. I think the one they showed off, they teased for the Haslab, the Ghost Rider Haslab looked better. It was a better looking figure. But according to Hasbro, that's how Goblin Queen is going to look in the new cartoon. So having a figure, assuming the new cartoon is as popular as the original cartoon or anywhere near as popular, having a figure based on how she appears in that cartoon, I don't think is a bad thing. Um, but just comparing it for my own personal preference, the one they showed for the Haslab and the one they are offering in the X-Men wave, if I had a choice, I'd go with the Haslab one. But I will probably get that figure though. I'll get the Executioner. I will get uh Madeline Pryor, Goblin Queen, and I'll probably get the Magneto. I've always liked that outfit for Magneto. I have that. I have the original comic where they put him on trial. The Avengers come and get him from the X-Men, and it's kind of when he becomes a good guy type thing. So I've always liked that outfit. So I'll probably get that one. I'm on the fence with the other three. I already have a decent enough Nightcrawler. I already have a good Jim Lee Cyclops. Though I will say, getting the optic blast effect for the Jim Lee Cyclops plus having the straps, etched in so that they don't fall off the figure all the time, that could tempt me. And it's my favorite version of Cyclops, so I could see myself getting that one. The Jean Grey, I got the one from the the recent box set, so I'm pretty good with that one. So I don't really feel like I need the Jean Grey. Three out. I thought about that when this images for tidal wave surfaced the other day. Yeah, because he's an aircraft carrier. So I don't know. I mean, those crossover figures have actually been pretty much new figures. They haven't just been like repainting old figures. So, and it obviously wouldn't be in scale. So I don't know. Collecting Russ as Executioner is a must. Yeah, he's not like I have the original Executioner song, storyline, but he's a pretty, it's not like a favorite character, but he's kind of a cool looking character, so I'll get him for that. Straw says, John says, they adapted storylines like Dark Phoenix and Days of Future Past in the original series. So try, yeah, I agree. And it would be great if they adapted the Inferno storyline and brought in like other outside of the mutants, like the Avengers and stuff like that. That would be pretty cool. And I mean, they wouldn't tell us specifically, but I'm sure the baby that Madeline Pryor comes with is Cable. Top five. It was a good story. I don't know if I'd put it in top five, but yeah. Wolverine 2-packs are great. Loving the Brood Wolverine and Psylocke. See, those are actually out of those 4 2-packs. Those are my 2 least favorite. I'm more into the Patch and Mr. Fix-It and the Sabretooth and Cowboy Wolverine. Those are the 2 2-packs that I'm gonna get. I don't know if I'm gonna get the other 2 or not. Judge Dredd, he's from the '90s. I don't know. I only remember the original storyline that he was used in. I don't know if he's a character that Marvel's used in recent years or not, but yeah, but he came in around that time of that storyline. Lord Finger. Yeah, that was actually not a bad. It wasn't as good as like the '90s stuff, but it wasn't a bad cartoon. 3M says, "I bet anything X-Men '97 is gonna butcher the theme song from some terrible remix." So, would you be happy if they came up with something completely new, or would you want them just to use the original song, or something like you say as a remix? Judge, if you quit collecting comics in the '80s, then yeah, you definitely wouldn't know Executioner. Like you said, it was the '90s he showed up. 'I would love. I don't know if they'll ever do this, but I would love separate from the movies, but like take like the X-Men '97, which is a continuation of the X-Men, the original X-Men cartoon, and start building an animated universe. So give us an Avengers cartoon in the same style and same universe, and Fox did it with the Spider-Man and X-Men back in the '90s were kind of loosely connected, but like, have them be part of all the same universe and give us an animated universe like they did with the movies, but only with animated cartoons that air on Disney Plus. I think that would be pretty awesome. So Avengers, Spider-Man, X-Men, a few others, but give us like all in that X-Men style, same X-Men universe and everything. So essentially create an MCU with animated as opposed to live action. Completely separate from the live action stuff. Animated '90s series went downhill after season 3, Dark Phoenix. I mean, the last season, I forget exactly how many seasons. I don't even remember how many seasons X Men had. I do. The animation started to get bad in the last like season, but I think that's because the ratings had dropped, and so it was kind of the end. I mean, while I love the '90s Spider-Man series, their version of Secret Wars was not that great. The they brought the Beyonder in and everything, but I didn't think they did a very good job of retelling that story in animation form. Well, I mean, I think your 97 Sabretooth is basically being released in that Wolverine 2-pack. So unless that X-Men 97 series lasts a really long time, I wouldn't hold your breath, because they're not going to do the same Wolverine figure in the same year. That's probably, but I'm fine with that as long as it's good. I mean, until I see episodes, I'm not going to sit here and say, even though, that this new series is going to be as good as the original. I hope it is, but we'll see. Yeah, but I think it was given to a different animation company because it was cheaper and, to cut costs. Yes, we have talked about the fire effect. I don't know what it's for, if that's what you're looking for. My hope is it's for Excalibur Phoenix, but I don't really have anything. But yes, that particular topic has come up a couple of times today. So my hope is it is a Excalibur Phoenix figure. Rodney says he's getting that just for if I was a bigger fan of Leandra, I'd get it. But I agree with you guys. I have no interest in a Brood Wolverine. I mean, again, I have that original comic that they're basing the figure off of, but and it's basic. If I remember correctly, it's basically just the cover. I don't think he actually appeared that way in the actual story, but I think that was just the cover. But I have no interest in that figure. And I'm just not a big enough Leandra fan to buy worth buying a 2-pack for the one figure. Jerry says the '90s animated from bad editing. I felt the early seasons. I mean, the early seasons of that series were great, but Jerry. Well, see, that's the thing. If I had a lot of confidence that Hasbro would give us her entire Imperial Guard, then I might be more inclined to get her. But I don't have a lot of faith that that's going to happen. We might get a few characters, but it was the same thing with the Starjammers, to be absolutely honest. I haven't gotten any of the Starjammer figures because I don't have a lot of confidence that Hasbro's going to give us the entire team. So I'm tired of starting these teams and then not being able to finish them. That's where I'm like, Hasbro needs to be giving us, Wolfsbane, X Factor Wolfsbane, and Pharaoh for X Force. They need to finish out, their new Warriors and Thunderbolts, and you know, let's get some teams finished up here that have been years in the making, and then start introducing new teams. Didn't we get a Brood Alien not that long ago as a Build-A-Figure? Collecting Rush says he was turning it. Yeah, but I like he never got that far as he did on the cover. if I remember. You seem to remember better than I do, but I don't remember him turning full on brood like that in the comic in the actual story. I think it was just the cover that he looked that way. I could be wrong. 3M. I'm honestly surprised the MTV Spider-Man never got action figures. They did. I forget. I don't know if it. Somebody did Spider-Man from that series. I can't remember who it was. We didn't get like a full-on line of figures, but I think somebody did Spider-Man from that MTV series. I almost want to say it was Diamond Select, but I won't swear to it. And I'm still waiting on Dark Avengers Moon. I'm waiting for them to finish out the original Thunderbolts. Yeah, that my biggest complaint with Marvel Legends is we just have too many unfinished teams, and Hasbro keeps starting these new teams, and I'm like, yeah, finish out teams we've already started, and then talk to me about new teams. But I don't think Cowboy Logan is too tall. If that's the size they end up looking at, I think that's appropriate sized. Audrey says, wish they would finish the men of the original New Mutants. Yeah, of course, I'm still peeved I missed out on the X-Force box set with the cannonball with legs because Disney canceled my pre-order, and then Hasbro's yet to ever make that set available again, at least here in the United States. Terry says we still need Leland at the Hellfire Club. Northern Nomad. Most older Wolverine figures are too short except for Hot Claws Wolverine. I'm trying to think. So I posed this question in my news video the other day about McFarlane and Hasbro, which I think all you guys understand what that announcement was about, because I've seen so many people like misunderstood what that, like, I guess they didn't actually read the news, they just read the headlines and thought like I saw somebody say on one of the message groups that they thought Hasbro had hired McFarlane to make action figures. I'm like, what? But I've talked about how, Hasbro seems to be moving away from the manufacturing side of things to license their brands out to other companies. And I do think, at least for the foreseeable future, that's the direction Hasbro is going to keep going. And while, obviously Hasbro does not own Marvel Legends and Marvel, that license owned by Disney. But if Hasbro truly does move away from manufacturing, then likely they would not try and keep the Marvel Legends license once their current agreement with Disney ends. And so, who do you think, if Hasbro stopped, if somebody else got the Marvel license with Marvel Legends, what company do you think could handle that license and do a good job with it? Which, it's not really a collab, it's just McFarlane's going to make a few, 3-inch figures for essentially just like Hasbro went to Disney to pay Disney to make Marvel figures. McFarlane has gone to Hasbro to pay to make things like GI Joe and Transformer figures. So, and specifically, at least right now, just the 3-inch page puncher stuff. Northern Nomad says Jada Toys. So you think Jada Toys could handle a license like Marvel and would do a good job with it? Jerry says McFarlane would launch 7-inch Marvel Legends. Well, MediaCon doesn't count. They're an overseas company, so they're not going to get, they. I mean, they already do Mafex Marvel figures, but they're never going to do Marvel Legends. I think I think if Disney did something like Warner Brothers did, where they split the license, remember Spin Master and McFarlane both, Warner Brothers, when Mattel lost the DC license, they split it so that McFarlane got the collector oriented stuff and Spin Master got the kid oriented stuff. So the reason why I don't think a Jada Toys or a Boss Fight or any of these smaller companies could handle the Marvel license is because they couldn't handle the stuff that Marvel and Disney would require be made for like the kids and stuff. So that's why you got, usually it's a bigger company that has the presence at the Walmarts and the Targets and stuff that get those licenses. So if Disney was willing to break up the license so that like a larger company could handle the kids stuff and then a smaller company could handle, the collector oriented stuff, then I could see a Jada Toys maybe, or Boss Fight, or even McFarlane um, get the license. I don't, as long as McFarlane has the DC license, I don't see Disney be willing to give him the Marvel license. I just, for whatever reason, I just think those studios don't want the same company making figures for I guess there's just too much competition there. So I feel like McFarlane would have to, in order to, if he ever had a shot at getting Marvel, he'd have to give up the DC license. Is kind of my feeling. There's nothing stated, like there's nothing out there that says that one company can't have both licenses, but it is my feeling that like Warner Brothers would frown on McFarlane if they heard that he was getting the Marvel license. So, or vice versa. Disney wouldn't let him get the Marvel license because he's got the DC license already. But that's just my speculation. I don't think anyone's publicly said that one company can't hold both licenses. The thing about like if a boss fight or Jada got Marvel figures, one thing you guys would have to, you wouldn't get nearly as much stuff. I mean, just look how slow it's taking Jada Toys to release Street Fighter figures. I mean, they've only gotten one wave out at retail. Um, so you would probably see a lot less stuff released, at least to begin with. And then likely the prices would be even higher. You'd be looking at, just like the boss fight Red Sonja figure is $50. You'd probably be looking at that for your basic prices for Marvel figures because those companies would be making much smaller production runs. So one of the things you have to realize, if something like that were to happen, A, your prices are going to go up even more, and B, you're probably going to get a lot less stuff released. Mattel with Four Horsemen design, like, I wouldn't say that's impossible. Assuming the Marvel license became available, Mattel I think would definitely be a strong candidate um, for that license. But I feel like most collectors would not be very happy with that if that happened because I don't think DC collectors were very happy with Mattel at the end of their line. Author says, I'm personally okay with less figures at higher price points, but better quality and accessories. So that's a good question, or that brings up a good point. So, what are we defining as better quality? Like, who gives us a good 6 or 7 inch scale quality figure, even if it's at a higher price? Like Mezco, do people feel Mezco's quality is that much superior? I mean, I know you get the cloth outfits and you definitely get a lot more accessories with Mezco figures. So, is that what we're like talking about? Or because like Jada Toys, I mean, their figures are not that much more expensive. Like the Street Fighter figures are pretty much on par. So and quality too. I mean, I think the quality of those Street Fighter figures are, I would put equate to like Marvel Legends and stuff. Um, I actually I've never owned a boss fight studio figure, so I can't personally speak to how good their or bad their quality is. So I only have seen their stuff on display. I've actually, I'm not used to them doing 1/12 scale figures. They've normally done the smaller scale stuff. So I don't, I don't know. Is the boss fight studio quality that much better than Marvel Legends? I don't know. I think they're primarily more expensive just because, Boss Fight Studios doesn't get as good of a deal at the factories and is making smaller production runs. And so that jacks up their price a good deal. Author, so more like giving us unique sculpts for every figure as opposed to okay. I mean, that is a pretty common practice in the toy world, reusing sculpts and stuff, but I get what you're saying. Um, but does anybody, yeah, I guess like the Four Horsemen, all those sculpts are pretty unique and everything. Judge says, I still miss toy. I mean, I think Hasbro has done a pretty good job of filling the shoes of Toy Biz, if you want my honest opinion. I mean, for certainly when Hasbro first took over the license from Toy Biz, it it was iffy there for a while. I mean, Hasbro definitely had some learning to do, and those early Marvel Legend figures that Hasbro did are horrible. But I think today, I mean, Hasbro gives us pretty good, mass produced action figures. Um, yeah, they reuse a lot of the same parts and everything. I get that, but as far, but so did Toy Biz. I mean, in a lot of ways. So Tropic Thunder says, love Boss Fight Studios dinosaur line. I stack up with Masters of the Universe Origins. Author Chen says 2024 Marvel Legends seem to be doing a lot more unique sculpts for comic figures because of there being less new MCU figures coming out. I mean, definitely a company like Hasbro is always going to reuse parts. That's how they get their money out of those sculpts and stuff. So that, and they always have. I mean, that's just, I mean, even going back to the 80s, that has just always been a common practice with the larger toy companies. Which I guess is why it's never bothered me that much. As long as the figure looks like the character, I don't really care if it's reusing parts from another figure if it works. Um, and I think a lot of times it does work. There are times where it doesn't, where they use the wrong buck and he's the wrong size, the character's the wrong size and stuff. So, but I mean, but it doesn't bother me. It's never bothered me that when a company reuses parts, I don't really need my action figures all to be 100% unique. Um, as long as they look good and look like what they're supposed to be representing, then I'm fine with that. But I mean, that's my personal preference, and if that's not yours, I totally get that. Author says, I have two skeletons from Epic Hacks 112, and they're good, but sorry. I have two skeletons from Epic Hacks, and they're very good, but I'm waiting for the 112 Court of the Dead and the Red Sonja to come out to see how Boss can really do that scale. And I mean, there are a lot of guys doing 112 figures these days, independent stuff. I mean, it's crazy how many different like independent lines you're seeing these days. I talked about this on Tuesday, where you know, as these larger, I think these larger corporations, in my opinion, a Hasbro cannot survive on adult collectors alone. There's just not enough of us out there. They can make money from us, but a company like Hasbro is just too big and bloated, and requires them the revenue that they bring in is astronomical, and I just don't think there's enough adult collectors out there to support a company like Hasbro alone. So that's where Hasbro has to find ways not just to appease adult collectors, but they also have to have, other demographics buying their products as well. And we're, again, when you're talking about a Hasbro, we're not just talking about action figures. We're talking about games, board games. We're talking about stuffed animals. We're talking about Nerf. We're talking about, all kinds of things. So a large variety of products that appeal to, very different, not just adult collectors. But I do feel like as the toy market itself, and when I talk about the toy market, I'm talking about kids and continues to shrink, companies like Hasbro, it's going to be harder and harder for them to stay profitable in the way that they need to be profitable. So, which is why I think you're seeing Hasbro starting to move away from manufacturing and trying to survive off of licensing and stuff. And I don't know if they'll be successful with that or not, but I think that's why they're heading into that direction. But I think that opens up opportunities for smaller companies, for smaller guys to get a foothold in this market. And I think we've seen that. A lot of these guys would have never been able to get the foothold that they've gotten, 10 years ago. So, but when you talk about these big licenses like Marvel and stuff, though, it's still, once again, because the studios would not be happy if only adult collectors were buying their products. They want, they want their stuff on the shelves in Walmart and Target, and they want kids and parents to see their stuff. They want it to promote their movies. And so, Disney would likely not be happy with a small company holding a license like Marvel, at least solely. So that's kind of the catch-22. But, and I'm rambling now, so. Eric says, I hate figures that won't stand. Well, I mean, that has been a problem with Marvel Legends, especially with their women figures, is like, when the knee joints, when the figure's just standing on the shelf and you start to see the knee joints sag because the rubber is so thin and it can no longer support the weight of the figure. And I think the pinless stuff is supposed to kind of fix that, but that's probably my biggest complaint with like Marvel Legend figures is when the knees start to like buckle under the weight of the figure. And then of course, like, with Storm's hair and stuff, sometimes you have figures that are too top heavy. Teagley says any figure that is 20 plus should include a stand. Yeah, but I gotta be honest. Like, McFarlane gives us those little circle stands with their figures, but I don't use them very often. From my standpoint, the problem with a figure stand is they take up too much. Like I already, in the cabinet, in the glass cabinets, I barely have enough room to get the figures in there, and so when you start needing, the figure stands always take up more space. So I tend not to use the figure stands because of space. And so like with the McFarlane stands, they're nice, but I honestly only use them on a few figures that just refuse to stand up. Like if you got a figure that just won't stand up for anything, then you pull out the figure stand. But I prefer when the figure can stand under its own ability without the figure stand. It says Toy Biz figure. Yeah, they do. I mean, Toy Biz figures were. I mean, they were great figures for the day, and they're still decent figures. But most of the proportions on old Toy Biz figures compared to today's figures don't look that good. But nevertheless, they're still great figures. And honestly, if it wasn't for a line like Marvel Legends, we probably wouldn't. This hobby wouldn't be what it is today. You know, I often, you often hear about McFarlane Toys getting credit, Todd McFarlane for getting credit for being like the first person to say, hey, let's do action figures with more detail and things like that. And that's 100% true. I'm not trying to take away from that accomplishment. But I look at Toy Biz and Marvel Legends, and they took it one step further. McFarlane was all about, paint apps and sculpting detail, but horrible on the articulation side. So most of the McFarlane figures were not much more than statues. Whereas Toy Biz, I think, kind of took McFarlane's lead and said, hey, let's give people nice sculpted figures with lots of articulation. And, and that to me is really kind of the birth genesis of this hobby is when Toy Biz kind of established that with, highly articulated action figures that look good. Maybe not quite as always as detailedly sculpted as McFarlane stuff, but still close enough, and then with all the good articulation. Yeah, I still have a ton of them. Those stands suck, though. I got to be honest with you. Those Batman the Animated Series stands with the little white bases and the little yeah, those were not very good stands, and those took up a lot of space too. Davey Sock Rocker says Todd McFarlane never did action figures with more detail. He did statues with more detail. I mean, there's some truth to that. Basically, what McFarlane did, why McFarlane got Toys R Us to carry his action figure line. So what McFarlane basically showed the industry was you could get these retailers to carry figures with more detail and paint apps and stuff, which cost a little bit more and stuff. And you could get them, you could get somebody like Toys R Us to carry it. And once all of the companies started to see Toys R Us carrying McFarlane figures, then they started to say, oh, well, I guess we can make these sell. Because I think the thinking was, first of all, back then, nobody really thought adults would buy action figures. That was an alien concept to all these toy companies. So back then, everyone was purely making action figures for kids, not adults or teenagers or anything like that. And McFarlane basically, showed them that you could do it. But like you say, McFarlane, because he hated articulation, he thought it took away from the look of the figures. He never gave us good articulated figures, and that's where I think Toy Biz saw an opportunity and gave us the superhero figures, which you would want to have highly articulated, and gave us nice detail and the super articulation. Arthur Chen says, if Street Humans came out during shutdown, it probably, well, he tried to launch it during COVID. The problem was is his prototypes got, because of COVID and everything, got, he didn't get his prototypes from the factory, so he had nothing physical to show people when he first launched the line. And that's why the first time it failed was the main reason, I think, why the first time it failed. The downside to everybody being able to do action figures these days is you get an oversaturation in the market, you know. And this happens all the time. When somebody sees someone else making money and being successful, then they're going to go, "Oh, well, I can do that. I can do it better." And then they're going to try and do it. And that's what you are seeing here is you are seeing a bunch of these guys come in, and there is going to be a saturation. Now, there's a good side to that, because more competition means, you know, if you got somebody giving you competition, then you're going to be more incentivized to do a better product. Whereas if there's no competition out there, then, you know, you get lazy and you start, you know, your quality goes down. So the guys who survive are going to be the guys who basically out hustle the competitors. Give us better figures, give us better quality, give us better paint apps and stuff. So, and marketing, you cannot deny, if you're going to try and launch something like action figures, you've got to be good at marketing. You've got to be able to create a fan base for your products. I think the Four Horsemen, yeah, they do some pretty good figures, but they've developed a fan base that is very loyal to them. So even when they do maybe put out a figure that's not so great, that fan base is still going to continue to support them just because they're a fan of the Four Horsemen and what they do. So they want to support the Four Horsemen, even if it's a figure that they don't really want. And that's essentially marketing. So, and one of the things, you know, and I can say this pretty firmly because I've met the man in person. When you meet Todd McFarlane in person, one of the things you realize is he's a salesman. That's, you know, he's a great artist, no doubt. But I think one of the things that attribute to Todd McFarlane's success is that he's a salesman. And he's always trying to sell you on something, whether it's his movies or his comics or his toys or whatever. He's always trying to sell you something. And that's a very important thing. You know, look at comic books. Stan Lee, you know, relied on his creators that he worked with for most of those characters that he gets credit for. And I think that's 100% true. But those characters would never have become the household names that they are without Stan Lee and the salesman that Stan Lee was. So, you know, Jack Kirby created some great characters and was a great artist and everything, but Stan Lee was as important, if maybe even more important, to the success of those characters and becoming the household names that they did because Stan Lee was such a great salesman. And that's all, you know. So you could have a great product, but if you're not a good salesman, you could fall on your ass. I mean, and sometimes you can have a shitty product, but if you're a good salesman, you can still make it successful. And that's just kind of how it is, I think. But see, see, Todd's arrogant, and Todd often does things the way he wants it, even if it's not the best way. But I would not ever use the word idiot with Todd McFarlane. He's not an idiot. Todd is a snake oil. Well, used car salesman, you know, but I mean, like I said, you cannot underestimate, if you're a good salesman, how valuable a commodity that is when you're trying to sell, you know, get a product off the ground and stuff. So, Like I didn't realize Todd McFarlane had declared bankruptcy in the early 2000s. Um, because I guess apparently he got sued. He got sued by a hockey player for using the hockey player's name in his Spawn comics without permission, and then he got sued by um, guy who created a oh man uh, Witchblade. Not was it Witch? No. He got sued by another comic creator because who helped him create some characters in the Spawn comic, but didn't pay him royalties or anything like that. And, I'm totally drawing a blank on the character and the guy who sued him, but yeah. So Todd got sued, and I mean Todd. You know, if you go back and you look over his career, I mean, you know, Marvel gave Todd McFarlane his opportunities to help him become so successful. And then he left Marvel because he wanted to go off on his own and make more money. Now, you can't really blame Todd McFarlane for doing that. But at the same time, you know, it's like you kind of screwed over the company that helped make you successful. So who's the bad guy in that scenario? I don't know. But yeah, Neil Gaiman. That's who I was. Neil Gaiman. So yeah, he got sued by Neil Gaiman, and he ended up declaring bankruptcy. Of course, it probably didn't help. He spent what, like $3 million for a baseball, an autographed baseball. But it's funny because I was reading, and so like he he, he spent all that money on that baseball, which actually helped him get the sports licenses for the sports figures he started doing, because all the sports figures started looking at him and go, "Who's this guy that just spent like $3 million on a baseball?" And it allowed him to essentially get his foot in the door with these sports agent, you know, these sporting leagues, so that he could get the license to do sports figures. So it's like you're sitting there going, "Why the hell did he spend $3 million on a baseball?" But then it actually helped him. So kind of crazy how things, and that was probably pure luck. I'm not saying it was like a strategy. I think that was just pure luck, but sometimes just being lucky is how you get successful. Todd is his own worst enemy. The idea of willing to lose money to price point to keep the price point low is, let's see, I don't think that's what Todd said. Todd said he could keep his price point lower than a company like Hasbro because he doesn't have shareholders that he has to worry about, which is true. But Todd has raised his prices on his action figures. Anybody still sitting there saying Todd's figures are basically $20? I mean, you know, he's been creative about it. Like, you know, he created the collector edition figures. Those are $30 a piece. There's nothing really, you're not getting a lot of accessories or anything like that. It's pretty much just a basic figure. But because he now calls it a collector edition figure, he's now charging $30 for them. So, you know, he's in a roundabout way, he started raising the prices on his action figures. So again, he's kind of using marketing. He's kind of sneaking in those price hikes so that you don't even notice. And I mean, to be successful in business, you know, more than know, a lot of his business decisions were calculated risks. I mean, you have to sometimes take risks, and most people who are successful in life, they fail before they're successful. People who are successful are the people who learn from their failures. You know, if you're and this is something I struggle with. You know, I run my own business and stuff, so this is something I've struggled with at times. Is you know, if you play it safe, you know, you might be limiting yourself. Whereas if you're willing to take a risk, you might fail. But you know, taking Shartimus, I mean, I I don't. If Shartimus gives up on his street humans, then you could say Shartimus is a failure, okay? But I don't see that with Shartimus. I see he's going to learn from his mistakes and he's going to come back with something better, and eventually he will successfully get the action figure line launched. And the difference between Shartimus and like most things is you're seeing the failures, and it's easy to jump on that, oh well, he's a failure bandwagon because he failed, but let's wait until it's completely done and see where things stand. I mean, because like I say, nobody is successful in everything they do. It's the people who basically learn from their failures, pick themselves up, and then keep trying until they're successful, that are generally the people who are successful in life. Yeah, those and I do like those NFT thing. I don't think those will ever work. But again, what did Todd do? He started to try and sell that digital stuff on its own. People weren't buying it. So now what's happening? Now he's starting to include it with action figures. And if you get the digital with the action figure now costs more. So he's now trying to slip the digital in with his action figures or statues or whatever. And that's how he's trying to get you hooked on the digital stuff. So he tried it where he just flat out said, okay, I'm going to sell this stuff, but nobody bought it. So now he's trying to slip it in with his physical action figures. And you're going to see him offering more and more physical product with the addition of the digital, hoping that you buy the figure and then you check out the digital and then you get hooked on the digital and then you start getting more into the digital stuff. That's what I see as the plan there. I agree with you, man. I mean, we've gotten some really nice figures from Todd. I mean, I don't like everything he does, but he definitely, especially with DC, he's given us some really nice figures. He's given us some duds, 100%, but he's given us some pretty nice figures too. So sad they canceled the solicited DC bombshells. Davey says, be more accepting to Todd's line if it was 6-inch scale. The 7-inch scales never really bothered me just because I collect a lot of DC Direct stuff, which was 7-inch scale. So I've never been bothered by the scale choice. Like it would be different. It'd probably be different to me. Like say if McFarlane ever got the Marvel license and then started doing 7-inch Marvel figures instead of 6-inch, that would be a little different. But and I mean I know the Mattel stuff was 6-inch, but and again I probably collected more DC Direct than Mattel DC figures, so that's why it didn't bother me that much. Oh, I pre-ordered the Lobo and Space Hawk too. That looks like another pretty solid offering from McFarlane. The Batmobile, I mean, that was a pretty good. I think he did a pretty good job with that '89 Batmobile. Author Chinza, Todd Father does what Todd Father wants. Yeah, to some extent, that's true. And I mean, that's that's the nice thing being your own boss, not being like a publicly traded company. Now, does Todd McFarlane, as the CEO of McFarlane Toys, make as much as Chris Cox of CEO of Hasbro? No, but he still probably makes pretty good money, and he's his own boss to a certain extent. If you start making decisions and your company starts losing money, lots of money, then you've got a problem. But oh snap! Oh, 100%. Todd's hungry for IPs. I, if you watch the Q&A he did a couple weeks ago, he's talked about wanting to do Marvel figures and wanting to do Star Wars and stuff. I mean, if he could get the licenses from Disney, I think he would definitely try to. But I think Todd, like I don't think like you look at somebody like the Four Horsemen, and I don't think the Four Horsemen have any ambition to want to be a Hasbro. Like I don't think the Four Horsemen ever set out to be the next Hasbro. I think as long as they're making enough money to survive and produce the figures that they want to produce, then I think they're perfectly happy. Todd, if he can, I think if he could create something that rivaled Hasbro, I think 100% he would try. So, and whether he ever became a publicly traded company or what, I don't know. But I feel like Todd's ambitions are much bigger than somebody like the Four Horsemen or something. Because, like I say, I feel like the Four Horsemen, you want a company that's profitable, you want it to be successful, but you don't necessarily have to be millionaires doing it. As long as you're able to make enough of a living and still do what you want, then that in their own right, I've probably consider themselves very successful. Well, Todd said in that Q&A that more Mortal Kombat figures were coming, so it's been a while, and it definitely seemed like maybe that license had come to an end. But at least according to what Todd said recently, he's not done with Mortal Kombat. Jerry says, can't afford Mythic Legions. Well, that's the downside to a small company. That's what I was saying. If somebody small like that ever got the Marvel license, the figures would be even more expensive than they are today. Davey said, I'd rather see Jada do Mortal Kombat. I don't know. I've heard a few people in the industry say that those video game licenses don't sell as well as you'd think they would. So, I don't know. I'd rather see Jada, give us a nice range of Street Fighter figures before trying to take on Mortal Kombat. Author Chen, Four Horsemen are their own. Well, but keep in mind a couple things. So the Four Horsemen were they were kind of the groundbreakers of this whole independent type thing with the Kickstarters and stuff. I mean, the Four Horsemen were basically the first ones to kind of really do that. So they had the advantage of being on the ground floor of something. But while the Four Horsemen themselves, under their Four Horsemen banner, have not sought after large IPs and stuff, the Four Horsemen, even today, I think, still will do work, freelance work, for large companies like Mattel and stuff. So, they still, you know, because they were so successful as toy sculptors and stuff, and hired by companies like Mattel and stuff, that's basically allowed them to make a living for themselves while they were getting off the ground their own action figures. And that's really kind of what has given them a big advantage, because they had such a foothold. They were so renowned within the industry and had such a foothold. They had a steady income always coming in, even if their own action figures didn't start off as hot sellers and stuff. So, and it's taken, Four Horsemen have been doing this stuff for, it's been 10, 15 years, I want to say, at least 10 years. The Four Horsemen, started trying to produce their own figures and stuff. So it's not like the Four Horsemen just started this like a year or two ago. They've been doing it for a long time. And again, I don't think, and I could be wrong on this, so this is just my speculation, but I don't think the Four Horsemen are, I don't think they're not setting out to try and be like you look at a company like Super 7 definitely, they're going after all these IPs and stuff, and that's what they're all about and stuff, and they're trying to really get a foothold. They want their products in Target and Walmart, and they're trying to grab licenses that will let them get stuff in those places. But that's not really what the Four Horsemen are about. The Four Horsemen are about, like I said, just doing their own thing, and as long as they're able to sell enough of that to be profitable and keep doing it, then I think they're happy. If anyone's going to do Altered Beasts, it's going to be Storm. Yeah, Storm Collectibles. But Storm Collectibles is an overseas company, so... And the video game stuff, I think, definitely does better overseas, I think, than here in the US. So, and I think, McFarlane's interest in Mortal Kombat has to do with, more Mortal Kombat movies coming out and newer video games and stuff. He's more interested in the current stuff instead of doing, stuff based on classic Mortal Kombat and such. Cal says, does someone have the Goblin Girl or Golden Girl license? NECA did Golden Girl figures. They did the Golden Girls. Who are you going to do beyond the Golden Girls? So, I guess NECA still has that. All right, well, it's 9 o'clock, so we've gone late again. Second week in a row, we've gone late. But like I said, next week is going to be the last live stream before Christmas, so maybe we'll do a giveaway or something, have a Christmas celebration. I'll let you guys know as we get closer to next Thursday. Tomorrow, either a news video maybe, or I might try and do the His Tank review. I'm not sure. So plan that by ear. It kind of depends if there's enough new. Obviously there's all the Marvel Legends stuff I can recap in a regular news video, but I feel like since we talked about that stuff in pretty detail today, if that's all there is for news tomorrow, then I'll probably wait until Monday to do another news video, and then maybe crank out the His Tank review tomorrow if I can. But I want to thank everybody for coming in tonight. As always, listening to me rambling. As always, much appreciated. You guys stay safe out there. If by chance I didn't talk to you again until after Christmas, hopefully you guys have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Till next time, guys, I'll catch you later.
Hey, thanks for watching today's video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification to alerted every time I upload a new video. And be sure to head over to the Toy News International and Marvelous News Message Boards communities. It's a great place to talk toys and win cool contests like $100 store credits to Big Bad Toy Store. And remember, action figures are great.